This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 30, and verse 3. For the day is near, even the day of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, is near, a cloudy day. It shall be the time of the heathen. First and foremost, especially in these times of day, we want to give all praises, honor, and infinite glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honors into the elder apostles, the elder bishops, and the heads and elders of all the camps of Great Millstone GMS who do well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered abroad, the Bayath, Dawada, Bayath, Dawada, or Dawayad, Salakia, House of David, Tabernacle of David, those predestined spirits of election scattered abroad, starting with the governing body in the kingdom to come, the 144,000, 12,000 men from each tribe of Israel, Yasha'Allah, all right, the prophets, including the innumerable multitude scattered abroad, the four winds of the earth, four corners of the earth, consisting of men, women, and children outside the office of a prophet, rehearsing the righteous acts to the best of their ability, believing on the gospel that is being preached by the prophets in these last days. This is your brother Tazapani of the Great Millstone, Washington, D.C. Church, Adawan Ratazah, Lord willing, the spiritual commentary, digital epistle, exhortation is edifying to the elect. So without further ado, this is the King Kim Iverson show. Came out yesterday. I watched it last night. Real good interview. I'm gonna let maybe 10, 12 minutes play, and of course, filter it through the scriptures. Okay, the title of her video is Trump threatens Iran and Americans with war. So see, let's go to Ecclesiastes real quick because a lot of people don't understand the times that we in. Well, look, in Proverbs it says that for wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. So the first thing, your ultimate goal in life as an Israelite, a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, those are the true Israelites, not those people over there, them tiny tops, okay, that claim to be who we are, okay, through the greatest crime ever, ultimately the identity theft of the people of the Lord. All right, in Thessalonians, it talks about how they shall sit in the seat of the temple of the Most High, man, claiming that they are, um, the Most High and pertaining to anything about the Most High, right? But then the wicked is going to be revealed, all right? And it's a wicked act to try to claim somebody else's inheritance when it ain't yours, okay? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 8. It says, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. See, so when we go up to verse 1, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. So there's a season and a every purpose under heaven for a specific time frame. And the talking point that is around that time frame. And the time frame that we in now is a time of war. Okay. And if you do not prepare yourself for that war, and for us that is in this truth, it's a spiritual warfare, but these heathen nations is going to make it kinetic. Okay, they're going to make it physical, carnal, okay, where actual people get unalived on a level that has never been seen before. Okay, the scriptures talk about, um, let's type it in the book of Isaiah. Okay, 9 and 5, it says, for every battle of the warrior is confused noise and garments rolled in blood. See, so everything was conventional warfare. They agreed upon certain terms when they go to war. And then it says, semicolon, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. See, the third world war is going to be used with multiple, or should I say, is going to be ended with multiple thermonuclear warhead, hypersonic, intercontinental ballistic missiles that it will destroy anything that's in its sight. And what is going to be in the sight of these ICBMs? All right, the land where the tiny tops is right now, that little sliver of land in West Asia, okay? The Levant region, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Persian Gulf, things of that nature, and America. But it's going to be even more with America because America is never going to be inhabited again. It's going to turn into a lake of fire. And this is why the prophets is out there to warn before the Lord comes and do this. Okay. So yeah, this is on a whole different level that we coming into, and this is why we're trying to persuade men by the terror of the Lord, as it says in the book of Corinthians. So without further ado, we're going to play this and filter it through the scriptures. Threatening war once again with Iran, something absolutely no one wants. Iran doesn't want it. Americans don't want this. Why are we going to war with Iran? He's saying it's because of nuclear weapons. Wait a minute. I thought you destroyed all of these nuclear weapons back in. So we're going to war with Iran because it's prophecy. Okay? The scriptures talk about how the Carmenians, which are the Persians, which are the Iranians, okay, is going to be raging with wrath as a wild boar. You go into the behavioral, primal instincts of how a wild boar moves. It's going to be unexpected, um, wild in nature, all right, swift, things of that nature. And they're going to go in league with the dragons of Arabia. So these savages of these Ishmaelite countries, these so-called Arabians, the mingled people, that's what Arab or Arab means, okay? They're going to, because they're all Islamic, okay? One is just Sunni and the other is Shia, okay? So when they do that and they're going to waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, as it says in Second Esdras 16, if I'm not mistaken, okay, the modern day Assyria is America. Okay. So like she's about to explain, it's the same type. Remember, there's nothing new under the sun. So they're using the same tactic, but knowledge shall be increased, as it says in the book of Daniel. So people are starting to see their own people, their own tongue shall fall upon themselves. So you're having Edomites and American Babylonians coming out and pushing true knowledge on social media and alternative news on what's going on. And then the people is starting to see that there is shameful spewing upon thy glory, as it says um in the scriptures. Okay. Talking about who? Edom slash Babylon. Okay. So what America was glorified about, its great military and things of that nature, is now having shameful spewing. So people are spitting out the truth upon them, and it's a shame to America. Hence why, all right, people are looking at America in a different type of light compared to what it was. This land of milk and honey. Now they're seeing that everything they got was through deceit. That's is literally Ecclesiasticus 10 and 8. For the kingdom shall be translated from one people to another because of riches gotten by deceit, injurious dealings. All right, so roughly paraphrasing. You see what I'm saying? So all of this riches that they got, it was deceit. All of the rape, robbing, and murdering, right? The pillaging, all right, that America has done. The whole hammer of the earth, as the scriptures say. You see what I'm saying? So America is through, man. It is through. The skirt has been lifted. Their nakedness has shown, which is symbolic for the sin and the wickedness and the iniquity that they have done, not only here but around the world. And their time is up. It's time for a new ruler. That's the whole purpose of why Yahweh Shah is coming back to establish his kingdom, which is going to be established with righteousness and it's going to be pushed throughout the earth on how to live, how to worship the Most High, man. June, what are you talking about? Remember when you said that you destroyed it would take them years to build them back up? So what are we doing sending a giant armada to a massive armada, he says. And he did, remember when with the bunker busters, oh, let's look at what we did, and they struck Iran, right? The so-called nuclear programs that was happening in the mountains of Iran, right? Hit him with the bunker busters. Supposedly these weapons was able to penetrate all of that hard granite and rock that's in there in the mountains of Iran. All right, and then oh yeah, we destroyed their programs, but now all of a sudden they wanted more of this weapons of mass destruction talk. Come on now, you see what I'm saying? So the people is seeing what's going on. To Iran, he says a massive armada is heading to Iran. It is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. It is a larger. You know, it's crazy. A massive armada is heading to Iran, but a heavenly massive armada is heading to the earth. The Lord is balanced, right? All right, yeah. Yahweh shot the angels. You see what I'm saying? Just waiting for the green light, the kite from Yahweh, man. Fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. Then that's sent to Venezuela. Like with Venezuela, it is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission.
with speed and violence if necessary. Hopefully, Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons, one that is good for all parties. Time is running out. It is truly the essence, as I told Iran once before, make a deal. They didn't, and there was Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack will be far worse. Don't make that happen again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Again, I thought Operation Midnight Hammer got rid of this problem.
Right.
I thought that was it. So, what are we doing with this massive armada on its way to Iran? The deal that the United States is trying to strike with Iran is the U.S. wants Iran to agree to having no weapons that can strike Israel. They don't want any of these longer range missiles that can hit Israel. But on the flip side, they're not telling Israel that they have to give up any of their weapons that can strike Iran. So they're allowing a one-way deal where they're saying to Iran, you have to give up all of your weapons. You're not allowed to be able to strike Israel. But meanwhile, Israel will be able to strike you. And by the way, Israel has nuclear weapons that they're not willing to admit to. So that's the deal that they're trying to get Iran to agree to. Now, if Iran's not going to agree to that. Why would anybody agree to that? That's to give up your sovereignty, to say that you're not allowed to hit a country that might be able to attack you even with a nuclear weapon. No, thanks. Not gonna put down my gun while the other side gets to still aim one at me. But that's what he's asking for. And this is something that people are not really. I just don't see how the Iranians are going to go for this. But I want to show you this. Are we going to go to war with Iran? This was a Polymarket insider. This person apparently bet, large amounts of money. This was a suspected Israeli insider account that had a 100% win rate on Polymarket, with all their bets being on Israeli military operations. And at this point, they've had a 100% success rate, betting hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they're betting, their latest bet is that Israel will attack Iran by January 31st.
Now, January 31st is tomorrow. All right. And there's a reason why things happen on the weekend, because of volatility in the markets, the global economic markets. Okay, this is why all the strikes happen Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, things of that nature, because the markets is closed down, and people don't want to lose money, or they want to make money by investing in certain things and have that time to move shit around. All right, because of insider trading. Now, this Polymarket person, their name, right, is Rico Suave 666. So when we see that word 666, the Bible has given us who this number of the beast is. It's talking about Esau. Okay, in Espanol, in Spanish, okay, Rico means rich, Suave means smooth. All right, so the smooth, rich devil, okay, literally, rich, smooth devil, rich, smooth Esau. All right. So notice they'll have 100% rate. So how do you have 100% rate betting tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars? All right. And you make, astronomical return on investment because you have been given the information before it happens. What does that remind you of? Septiembre 9/11, 2001. All right. We should know what that is, right? And how people put insurance claims before the day happened, when them buildings did what it did, right? So you can't make this shit. You can't, like, now, again, I'm going to be watching to see what goes on. But she brought this out like, yo, what's going to happen? You feel me? And then they got the second one. Uh, the Tiny Top strikes Iran by March 31st as well. So we gonna see what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be. She just thought that was interesting to bring it out. I thought that was kind of interesting.
So that's just in a couple of days, that there's apparently going to be an attack on Iran, that Israel will do it. Iran will probably strike back. America will be there to strike Iran. And now we end up in some sort of potentially a war. Hopefully it's a war that only lasts 12 days like before. But the U.S. is there basically to back up Israel as Iran starts striking Israel. Because if Israel strikes Iran, we saw this game before, Israel's thinking, well, if we've got the muscle of our big brother or little brother, however you want to look at us, then maybe we'll be able to survive it, or do some more damage. I don't know what they're thinking, but what I do.
So you see how it says that She said the little brother would so we got the muscle of the big brother. Okay. So when we go to the book, y'all know where I'm going. Book of Jeremiah, right? Chapter 50, verse 45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he had taken against Babylon. So the counsel of the Lord is basically these prophecies, all right, that he, through the Holy Spirit, that he has given the discernment and understanding unto his prophets. So it's telling you people to hear the prophets of what is going to happen on the negative side, the left-hand side, against Babylon, which is America, through in prophecy and his purposes. Yeah, so what he has planned for America, that he hath purposed against the land of the Chaldeans, right? The Chaldeans was the elite class that ruled over the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock is them tiny tops. The little brother, like she said, ran by. The puppet, BB, Netin, Nada, you wish you was us, people, right? It says, surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. You see? So two places is going to be desolate, okay? The land over there in the tiny tops in America. But the least of the flock, meaning they're going to be the ones to say, yo, come to war with us. Okay. And this is why there's such a connection between Nero 47 and BB.
Is that they're planning on marching us into war. I want to show you also this. This was from a survey done in 2019. This was put on Fox News, funny enough, but it was a German survey from 2019. The greatest threat to world peace. And this is how Germans responded. President Trump being the greatest threat to world peace at 41%, Kim Jong-un, 17%, Ali Khamenei at 8%, Vladimir Putin at 8%. And
well, the funny thing is, the scriptures say that there is no peace for the wicked in the book of Isaiah. So it don't matter any of these people, but and notice these are all the kings of the world. Nero 47, Kim Jong-un, Ali Khamenei, Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, right? But the scriptures say that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As a river, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So all these puppets in play of the central bankers, okay, the Lord has sicked his left-handed pit bulls, okay, these spiritual demons on the left-hand side to control them to bring about prophecy, okay, because they are the commanders in chief. They're the highest level to tell people what to do, okay, and they're telling their military forces, okay, to strategically prepare for what's about to come. Hence why all of these places have been gathering up gold. All right, all these places have been turning their plowshares, all right, into spears, as it says in the book of Joel, chapter 3. It's mobilization. They're getting prepared for war. It is a time for war. Is Ecclesiastes 3 and 9. All right.
Jinping at 7%. So they don't view the Chinese as a threat to world peace really at all, nor the Russians, nor the Iranians. Instead, they view the United States as a giant threat to world peace. And that's probably pretty darn accurate. Probably pretty darn accurate. But I just thought I'd show you that. That one is kind of funny. But look, we're probably on the precipice of going to war with Iran. This is something that Israel's been salivating over for a very long time. The biggest issue I see happening now, the biggest shift, I think the big consequential shift, because we've been at Middle Eastern wars before many times, and day-to-day life for most Americans doesn't change. We haven't really felt the impact of the consequences of our wars. We've left other people to die, children to die.
See, and this is why it says, for God is not mocked. What is that? Galatians 4 and 6. For whatever a man shall sow, the same shall he reap. What man can we use that towards in this scenario? Esau. So just like she said, we have been to war many times in Western Asia. Nothing is really happening and affect our day-to-day lives here in America. So that means that they're constantly sowing corruption and war and death amongst the world. and thinking that they're not going to reap that recompense on a balanced and just level. No, you're going to drink that cup too. We're going to get that a little bit later. Okay? That's what the scriptures say. Okay? So it's a foolish thing to think that, okay, you could continue. Remember in Psalms it says that they think that their houses shall continue forever. The Esau really thinks that he's going to continue to populate and rule the world. No, your house, literally the house of Esau, pursuant to Obadiah 1 and 18, is going to be completely destroyed. Okay, so not even just a physical, literal building, a house, but your family line, your house is going to be destroyed, man.
People to sanctions, even sanctioning countries, forcing them to be living in the Stone Ages like Cuba, Venezuela, Iran. We've been doing all of these things, and we Americans have not really felt the effects. But I think this time around things are different.
You see that face? That's a face of concern. All right. So the prophets, we've been out here teaching, preaching, telling you what's about to happen. Okay, that is going to affect here. It's going to come domestically, aka Jacob's trouble. But our own people take the Lord's righteous and merciful counsel for naught, for nothing. You see, we are a spectacle amongst men. You see, and they would hear us, but they would not do what we say, because it's not what we're saying, it's what the Lord's saying. But in Ezekiel, we're supposed to warn the house of Israel from him, whether they hear or whether they forbear. We don't give a fuck, okay? Because the Lord has put it in our spirit to continue to persevere, Lord willing, unto the end, but still preach, whether people listen to us or not, of what's going down until he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. Okay? So people don't understand geopolitics. No, they do. Do they even care about that? Why? Because they're not in a rulership mindset. They're in a slave mindset. That's why the scriptures say, is Israel a homeborn slave? Right? Is this what you was born to be? Imagine that. You a king, a prince walking the earth. Are you supposed to be walking the earth forever? Are you happy with that? Knowing that the inheritance of your father, the king, is supposed to come unto you, but you're not in a position of power, and the people that you're supposed to enslave is on the horse, the servant is riding the horse. You see? So our people is completely have been psychologically thwarted and controlled, all right, to a level where there is no changing or going back. This is why the Lord set up a remnant, put a hedge around his elect, all right? Because the rest of them, they're going to know after death by pain, period. All right.
We are seeing a shift in the global mentality toward America. We're seeing Canada cozying up to China, saying we want to do more business with China. We're seeing India doing the same thing. Many of these countries are now turning to China and saying, China, they're looking at China as the new global leader of the world. And they're wanting to abandon the United States because they're viewing the United States as a giant bully. Here's just some examples of us being a bully. This is outside of the U.S. Embassy in Denmark. There were 44 Danish flags. See them being removed, and a U.S. Embassy worker is removing these Danish flags. Now, these Danish flags, these 44 Danish flags, were set out there to commemorate the 44 Danish service members who died fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq for the United States when we called Article 5 for NATO. And Donald Trump is saying that Europe wouldn't be there for us, and yet the Europeans have been there for us. We're the only country in the world that has evoked an Article 5 for NATO. And this U.S. Embassy worker is taking the flags down. Now,
you know what that proves? So the only country that used Article 5 for NATO, which basically means that if we go to war, everybody goes to war to be on our side. European nations never did that. So you know what that proves? That the whore rideth the beast. If you are on top of a beast, you have control of that beast. Okay? The beast is who? NATO. So we if they do Article 5, we're not going to go with them. And they're seeing that. This is why they're breaking up. And eventually, Revelation 17 and 16, where the beast shall hate the whore. Because it's like, yo, I'm doing this for you, but you're not doing this for me. It's transactional. There was supposed to be a quid pro quo, but they're seeing we're nothing but slaves or vassal states, showing you is Rome all over again. There is no more wisdom in Taman. All right. The Temanites are your modern day Germans, but it represents, all right, the wisest amongst the Edomites as well. Okay, so all the wise men amongst the Edomites, whether they live here, whether they live in Europe or wherever they at, they're just now getting the understanding that they was acting and being stupid to be allied with America. You see? Yeah, let's let it talk a little bit more.
Embassy says, well, the reason, they weren't allowed to be installed. They are on public property. And the U.S. Embassy says, so, they're giving all these stupid excuses as to why they're removing these flags. But it's very insulting to the Danes. This is in Denmark that this is happening, and these flags are being removed by the U.S. Embassy. And that is only pissing off the Danes, that 44 of their men sacrificed their lives for us, not for them. Their safety was fine. It was for us after we were attacked after 9/11. And this is how we treat them. So the world is, this is just another example, a layer upon layer upon layer that we're seeing of the world saying, you know what, I don't know if you guys are the good guys anymore. I don't know if you guys are nice. And you were supposed to be the Captain America, the heroes, the good guys, the one that always does the right thing. But here we are no longer doing the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Here's another one. I got to show you this. This is Rand Paul grilling Marco Rubio over the kidnapping of Maduro. Again, this is America.
She said, do the right thing. What you think this is a Spike Lee joint? Ain't no America ain't never do no right thing. The scriptures in Habakkuk says that his soul that is within him is not upright. So what the fuck? And then she said, oh, Captain America. Well, there's a reason why on a symbolic, esoteric level that in Civil War, Captain America died. Okay? They know what's about to come. The elites, those that run Hollywood, and we know who those are, the tiny tops.
The twisted mentality of the United States, not understanding how, we try to justify our actions. We say things, we do things, and then we try to justify those actions. The world just simply doesn't agree because it's nonsensical. Watch this.
Our founders debated extensively over which branch of government should have the power to declare or initiate war. Virtually unanimously, they decided, and what was entered into the Constitution was that the declaration or initiation of war would be the power of Congress. Now, we have many advocates, many of whom are here today, who've been advocates for an expansive notion of presidential power. They often argue that wars are not really wars, that they're kinetic actions or drug busts. I think, though, if you reverse the circumstances, it becomes very difficult for these arguments to hold up. So I would ask you, if a foreign country bombed our air defense missiles, captured and removed our president, and blockaded our country, would that be considered an act of war?
Well, I think your question is about and I will acknowledge you've been very consistent on all these points the entire career. So let me, no matter who's in charge. So I will point to two things. The first is it's hard for us to conceive that an operation that lasted about 4.5 hours and was a law enforcement operation to capture someone we don't recognize as a head of state, indicted in the United States, wanted with a $50 million voucher.
Question would be, if it only took 4 hours to take our president, it's very short, nobody dies on the other side, nobody dies on our side, it's perfect. Would it be an act of war?
We just don't believe that this operation comes anywhere close to the constitutional definition of
But
war.
would it be an act of war if someone did it to us? Nobody dies, few casualties, they're in and out. boom, it's a perfect military operation. Would that be an act of war? Of course it would be an act of war. I'm probably the most anti-war person in the Senate, and I would vote to declare war if someone invaded our country and took our president. So I think we need to at least acknowledge this is a one-way argument. One-way arguments that don't rebound, that you can't apply to yourselves, that cannot be universally applicable, are bad arguments.
And we, unfortunately, as a country, are full of these. We are hypocrites. That's what our country's become. We are.
Uh-oh, look. So Kim Iverson said, we are hypocrites. Okay. What is woo-hoo? Oh man. What does the scripture say about a hypocritical nation? Yes. You can't these lessons make themselves, you know? So any brother, you know, and I'm talking to myself first and foremost, you feel me? We should be able to you know, consistently make some lessons, man. This is um this is Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 6. I will send him against a hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire in the streets. Okay. Because when you go up to verse 5, it talks about, oh, Assyrian, the rod of my anger and the staff is in their hand is mine indignation. Assyrian, like I said earlier, is my modern day, the modern day Assyrian is America. Okay, so these American troops is going to come down upon America. Now, to confirm this in its true context, yes, it's talking about the Israelites. All right, back then. Okay, specifically the northern kingdom, because the Assyrians plundered the northern kingdom. Okay, but pursuant to Deuteronomy, all these curses shall come upon our enemies. America being one of those, the Edomites being, you know, in congruence with that. You see what I'm saying? He gonna send them against a hypocritical nation. Okay. Let me see. Type this in real quick. See what comes up. Nah, we're gonna go shit. So this is, I typed in hypocrites in blue letter. This is Luke 12 and 56. It says, ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it that ye do not discern the time? So Yahweh Shai was talking to these wicked Pharisees and scribes at the time and calling them hypocrites because they was claiming to be worshiping the Heavenly Father, um, you know, through the spirit, but they wasn't, and they was doing it by the letter of the law without faith. Ultimately, seeing Yahweh Shai was sent by the Heavenly Father. But we can also use this now to any hypocrite, honestly. Okay, whether it be, you know, Jake out here that's claiming to be an Israelite but don't know what time they in, being false prophets, not taking the true prophecies as being taught by a great millstone. All right, but also now to these Americans, specifically, yeah, these Americans, because it's like, yo, you are able to understand when this is coming and when that is coming, but you don't understand we in time in war right now. You see, you cannot discern the time that we in, which I read earlier, Ecclesiastes 3 and 9, a time of war. Okay. Jumping up. Let's see here. Job chapter 15 and 34, it says, for the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate. So if America is a hypocritical nation or kingdom, which is better termed, okay, because a nation is a people that has the same progenitor. The congregation of hypocrites could be a Babylonians, Americans, and it's going to be desolate. How? Through the missiles. And fire, see, shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. You see that? So all these houses of those that tried to bribe people. All right, yeah, I'm doing wickedly, but take this money and put it under the rug. Don't speak nothing of it. This is why we hearing this whole blackmailing with this E to the F. All right, S to the EAIN. All right, files that is going out right now, man. Crazy. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So let's continue.
Bullying countries, invading countries, bombing countries, saying that we're peaceful. You know, Donald Trump saying he wants a Nobel Peace Prize as he's literally bombing countries, as he's literally threatening war, throwing a fit that he can't have a Nobel Peace Prize. Does
See, and this is why we tell you that the so-called white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Because when you go into that word devil, it's a title. diablos in the Greek, all right, which means false accuser or deceiver, okay, slanderer, all right. So if you slander, all right, if you deceive, you're a deceiver, right? What are you doing? You're saying one thing and doing another. Okay, you're literally the border of wickedness. All right, you're in the embodiment of what is not to do. All right, because as a man, right, all you have is your word and your balls, as they like to say. You see what I'm saying? It what was it, the movie Scarface or whatever? All right, because you are, as a man, is the only one that's able to make a testimony. Look up the etymology of the word testimony. Those that have a testes that's able to witness something. Okay, so it's men. We have testes, you see what I'm saying, balls or whatever, which makes you biologically a male. And then your word, because your word's supposed to be bond. All right, you say something, you supposed to do it. Hence, that's why Yahweh Shah said, be perfect as your father in heaven is perfect. Because when the father says something and he's going to do it, he's supposed to do it. This is why you're not supposed to make a vow. All right, because imagine you making a vow, but then you don't live up to the vow. All right. So you supposed as a man, because women lie, but men lie, numbers don't, right? As they like to say. But we not trying to be liars. You see what I'm saying? We trying to be honest men and willing to die off of the words that come out of our mouth. Because like I said earlier, ultimately them words ain't our words in the sense of prophecy. Okay. The spirit of the prophets is subject unto the prophets.
And understand why we are a laughing stock, and the world is reacting by making bigger, better deals with China.
We're the laughing stock, the shameful spewing upon thy glory.
Cozy.
Right? So that's pretty much it. I don't want to make this too longer, but yeah. For the day of the Lord is near, man. We're coming very, 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 very quick to that time, man. Let's get one more precept in regards to that. Day, Lord, near. This is Obadiah 1 and 15. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. You see that? As thou hast done. So you over here claiming that you're peaceful, at the same time you're bombing other people, right? So what you're doing is going to be done unto you. So when the prophet is telling you America is going to be turned into a lake of fire by multiple thermonuclear warhead equipped hypersonic intercontinental ballistic missiles, we telling you a truth. Because we have learned this from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai B'Shem Rachak Wadash. Yahweh Shah is supping with us, okay, for us to be able to discern the scriptures, okay. So everything that America has done unto others is going to be done. So we're telling you this is what's going to happen to America. And there is no if and buts or about it, and it's going to happen in our generation. Okay, it says, "Thy reward shall return upon thine own head." Okay, let's type in surely drink. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49 and 12. All right, this is talking about Edom, right? Because chapter 49 goes into Edom, chapter 50 goes into Babylon. And in a weird, not a weird way, but if you can understand, they're kind of interchangeable with each other. Edom being a so-called white man, Babylon being America. Okay, but in Isaiah 14, it says that Lucifer, which is the international banking families, it's a title that means light bearer. All right, they established themselves in the land of the north, which would be North America here in Babylon the Great. So, you know what I'm saying? You know, this is also spiritually Edom, Idumea. Okay, because Edom is a people, but it's also a place as well. All right. But Jeremiah 49 and 12, for thus saith Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Right. So we wasn't supposed to drink past a certain point. Of course, the Lord judged us because of the wickedness that we did. We did not keep the law, statutes, commandments as Israelites, as the chosen people of the Lord. All right. But yet Esau made us to drink all of it to the point where we was drunk. Drunk on what? Their ideologies, their philosophies, all of the wickedness and the idolatry that they push. Americanization, right? But then it goes on to say, art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? So you think that you could do that to us and nothing's going to happen to you? It says, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. And ultimately, that's the destruction. you're going to drink of it. You're going to get destroyed. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say, call Allah Yahweh Shem Rashai, Basham Kakwadash. On to the next one. Shalom.